Thank you. I'll try to create a bridge between the different conversation going from this landscape that have been really abused in Spain, from those spaces that are under the control of the municipality where the communities are fighting, and trying to bring a kind of a hopeful future where communities are embraced in this process. When you think about commons, and there is a current exhibition going on as part of the Tbilisi Architecture Biennial, you think mostly about those pastures where the sheep would be grazing, or this free water that you get in Paris in the Wallace Fountain, or eventually those riverbanks where you can take a dip during the summer in Copenhagen, but you rarely think about those mining sites that are called terrils in the north of France, that are a mountain of waste that were dug out from the mining areas and that remain, or on a more dramatic accent, the Fukushima nuclear power plant that are still up there 10 years after the catastrophe. And there's actually a word that has been coined to talk about those commons. It's actually the negative commons, the commons that we are inheriting, that are not beneficial in some way, that can be waste, nuclear power plant, but also a certain cultural heritage. We can think about the rights of colonizer. This word has been presented as part of this book from a group of French sociologists, Emmanuel Bonnet, Diego Landivar, and Alexandre Monin, and they were asking the really crucial question of how can we and should we also take care of those negative commons, and how can we regenerate them? The notion of regeneration, I think, is super interesting. If you think about biology, regeneration is really at its core. Basically, when a branch is cut, eventually the tree can regrow another branch. But if you think about the landscape, there's also this ability that the environment has to renew or restore or regrow this element that has been taken away. And when 2 years ago, in a place that is really dear to me, a really huge mega fire happened. Those are pictures I took now in April of the forest. So there's basically 9,000 football fields that have been just erased from the map. Those forests were man-made. They were made just for production, but this dates back from Napoleon times, so they were quite a big ecosystem. And when you look at this picture of the land forests, you can see that there is already new pioneer species that are taking over the burned trunk. And if you look at the nature and if you give it time, it regenerates for sure. But what doesn't regenerate in our time is the mutualistic relationship between nature and the fauna. And what is really tricky is that we have those negative comments that can't be regenerated in a way that there's a mutualistic relationship between human and other than humans. And how can you work toward it? So basically, if I take this example, it's regenerating, but on our perspective as human, this space is not regenerated, either on a heritage idea of the landscape, but also because those space for us are also productive space for us to thrive. And if we could take this direction, I'd like to talk about this example I've been working on. It's also a river. It's a river in the city of Marseille, in south of France. This river is almost not known by most people living there. It's a coastal river, so it starts from the mountain and it flows till the sea in the Mediterranean. And this river has been coined as a sick river because for many reasons. One of the main reasons is that 3/4 of the water is taken away from the beginning of the stream by a construction company called Lafargue, and then the rest of the water, when it's not under the ground and it's outside the ground, is basically turned into a dump. There is this huge project of landscape architect as part of the gentrification of the city to open up this river and offer a huge park that will be a river park in the future. Though this river park asks the really important questions of how can you regenerate this type of sick river, and I think one really key idea is the idea of time, because our time is not the time of other species, which is either wildlife, flora, or even the water. When you think about the soil, for 1 centimeter of soil, if you want to regenerate it fully to its full potential, it would take about 1 million years. So when you have this in mind, you need to shift your perception of time and also your relationship to the different scale. If you take this idea of the river, obviously when we look at a tiny part of the river, it's not so significant because all the different parts of the river are connected. And basically, we need to change our scale in terms of landscape. So thinking more in the watershed solidarity. If there's an action that is happening on the top, so basically at the moment, the pumping from the water, it will of course influence the park that needs to happen in the future there. So this is a picture of one of the cascades of Les Égalades. It used to be a place where people were going on holidays to take some fresh water, and there are still communities that are trying to work in this place. For 10 years now, there's a group that has been working to collect plastic, but also to invite locals to get a connection with this river. There's a lot of cultural activities that are going on, and they are actually the ones that rose awareness about this river to the city of Marseille. But I think it's also a scale that is really interesting, and the relationship with the community, because there's another community that has a really interesting relationship with the river. So this is a picture of a place that is not so far. It's like 1 kilometer away from the other picture. It's street vendors. So basically, this area in Marseille is quite poor. People are selling things that they find in the trash, and they are selling it just outside of the metro station. And when the market is over or when the police arrive, the only way for them to get away from the trash or the things that they have, they just throw it in the water. When you think about communities and the communities involved, and when you think about a sick environment, you need to also think about the social aspect to it. And for that, when you think about places that have been extracted, we mostly think about the environment, but it's actually a whole ecosystem that have been extracted. And there's also humans that have been extracted in some way. And I like to think about this name, that is extractivism, that is that we need for sure restore the environment. Within the environment, there's also the humans who are part of this environment, and if we're not taking care of those humans who are at the moment selling trash, then we will never go back to this image of the river. So for this, there's several interesting initiatives that I'd like to highlight in France. There is this experiment that I've been running for now 3 years. That's called Territoire Zéro Chômeur de Longue Durée. So if I'm giving a translation to this, it's like a territory for no people with no job for a long time. So basically, they presume that someone who doesn't have a job just takes about 1,800 euro to the state to provide assistance, so food tickets, medical assistance, etc. And if we invest this budget within a company that we create that is actually taking care of the people, so thinking not, okay, those people, they can't find a job, so we have to push them to find a job, but think it's on the other way around. So those people don't have a job because there's some reason that prevent them to have a job, so they maybe take care of someone, or maybe they're having some disabilities, or maybe they're not even speaking the language. So within those companies, they are taking care of all those parameters so that they can find this job in their territory. And these companies are actually working in the direction of environmental issues, but also social issues. And there's a few that we are working with. On another way, there is on the other side, there's also how can we work in a mutual care with our environment. The River Rhône in Lyon has been for many years reintroducing beavers, but more than that, they're also protecting their work. Beavers are really important for rivers to thrive, especially in situations where you have flooding. They are really architects that are preventing rivers to flood or to flood in a certain space. So their reintroduction is also benefiting us in many ways. There's two other examples I'd like to highlight. We have a lot of sites that have been highly contaminated because of industrial past in the suburbs of Paris. And those soil are not going to be restored in a short amount of time, definitely. But then we can also take action over those soil to make sure that in the next generation, eventually there will be some change. And in this picture with the flowers, so most of the soil that we have that are contaminated, they are not able to get edible products, so they're investing in some flowers, because some flowers can actually, through their roots, take off the contamination, and then within this place, they are also hiring people with low income or no previous diploma, so that they are taking care of the soil and getting a better connection to this specific area. So there's this circle of like social and ecological restoration. And then on the other side, this is a site I'm working in where we've been taking off the ground that has been sealed for many years, and under it we made a lot of sample and assessment with citizens from this area to get a better understanding of how polluted is the soil. Depending on that, we're also planting willow, which are trees that can be take out also the pollution, but also whether they are filtering the water, they can also make sure that the water infiltrates in this compacted soil. So the main question, I think this goes also with your question, is local communities does a lot, and I think there's a lot of pressure for them to keep doing those efforts, and I think they're really low paid in the efforts they're doing, but over the time it's really difficult to make sure that those efforts will be pursued, because as we saw, time is a really important matter, and people either get tired or retire also. So how can you grant that those efforts can go over decade and over next generation? And I think you were mentioning legal work. I think this is one of the things that I'm looking up to the most. There's some countries that are actually enforcing new rights, including the rights to nature. This is an article from the Ecuadorian constitution, and it's saying that persons and communities, people and nations will have the right to benefit from the environment and natural wealth, enabling them to enjoy the good way of living, which I find beautiful. And this creative lawmaking, I think, is maybe one way to go in order to make sure that those generative efforts could keep going in the future. I know this picture looks like it dates back from the 50s, but actually it's not long ago. It's from 2019. It's in the River Loire. It's one of the last wild rivers that we have in France, and that is at the moment under this work with a group that is coming from a writer, and there's also some researcher that started upon the work of Bruno Latour that says that how can we make sure that we land on planetary limits. And what is interesting is that they are putting all together citizens, lawmaker, researcher, artists. They are creating groups that are doing some type of restorative justice. So basically restorative justice is that you invite the people that committed the crime, so for instance humans, to deliberate with the victim and understand what is your role and how can you make sure that this would not keep going. So they've been running those experiments, and they are still working on it. But I think one that is already successful is the River Marayan that has been granted the rights of nature. This is a community that has been working for a decade on making sure that their river got different rights that I'll highlight, and I'll finish with this. The right to flow, the right to provide an healthy ecosystem, the right to be free from contamination, the right to feed itself, to be fed by its affluent, the right to biodiversity, the right to be restored, the right to the regeneration of its natural cycles, the right to conservation of its ecological structure and functions, the right to protection, preservation, and recovery, the right to be represented. So thank you very much. And